Well, for the first time ever, the race for the Democratic presidential nomination officially kicks off tomorrow in South Carolina, the same state that resurrected then-candidate Joe Biden's presidential campaign in 2020 and put him on a footing to win his party's nod and eventually the White House. Now, unlike 4 years ago, President Biden now looking to South Carolina voters to cement his campaign as the overwhelming favorite. So how important is tomorrow's primary? What should you expect if you're heading out to the polls right now? We got all those answers for you this morning, because joining me now to discuss is Meyer. He's a lecturer there at USC Department of Political Science. You're here to break it down all for us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and talk about, is the Democratic primary important here in South Carolina, and why?
It's incredibly important. This is the first in the nation Democratic primary. New Hampshire, that they previously voted, technically does not count. It was a beauty contest, so to speak. So this is the first contest where delegates will actually be awarded. And who is the Democratic nominee for this election going to be? It's whoever the delegates pick. So this is the first election where the delegates will actually be chosen. There will be bound delegates based on the percentage of the vote that the candidates win. So is it going to be Joe Biden? Might it be Dean Phillips? South Carolina is going to be the first chance for the voters to have a say. Is like, this is who we want the delegates to pick. This is who we want the delegates to make our new nominee. So
we have, accumulating nearly 2,000 delegates who need to clinch the party's nomination?
Yes, correct.
Is that what that works?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's going to be every state, as well as territories like Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, Guam. Democrats in all those different states and territories will be voting over the next several months, and whatever percentage of the vote a candidate gets in those states and territories, that's about how many delegates proportionally they'll win as well. The grand total is you want to get a majority of those delegates, but if you're Joe Biden, you're an incumbent president. You don't want a bare majority. That would be kind of embarrassing. Most incumbent presidents, they destroy their opponents when they run for re-election. So if you're Joe Biden, you don't want a bare majority. You want to get as close to that 2,000 total as possible.
So is this kind of showing a spotlight of what's to come in the future primaries around the states?
Absolutely. So how the voters will decide in South Carolina will probably be reflective of voters in other states. And there is a thing of momentum in politics. If a candidate does well in one state, voters in an upcoming state will think to themselves, gosh, I might want to reconsider this candidate. There might be something to them. So if you're Dean Phillips, you are hoping that South Carolina voters will give you a spark that will cause voters in other states like Iowa, Nevada, Michigan to give you a second look. But if you're Joe Biden, you don't want any voters to take another look at Dean Phillips, and you want to kill his candidacy as quickly as possible.
Now, this is also to South Carolina primary giving an outsized voice for Black South Carolinians. Historically, make up, 55% or more of the primary electorate?
Yeah, absolutely. South Carolina is one of the largest states in terms of the percentage of the black population, and that is seen in the Democratic primary as well. Other states, when they have votes for president, New Hampshire, Iowa, which traditionally have been the first states, those states are generally 95% white. So black voters historically haven't had much of a chance to have their voice heard before many times the nominee is already chosen. Enough voters have already had their say and the candidate has been picked. So having South Carolina go this early gives black voters a chance to have their voice heard so that their opinions about Joe Biden or any other candidate can be reflected, and it's not already decided before they cast a ballot.
And yeah, really quickly, 20% went to Dean Phillips in New Hampshire?
It did, yes, about 19.9% to be exact.
Okay.
So if you're Joe Biden, you don't want him to get anywhere close to that margin.
Interesting. Well, Chase, thank you so much for stopping by this morning. Now, we are going to have you back on to preview the Republican primary in just a couple of weeks.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Of course, we're also going to put this on our website at WLTX.com so you can hear this all again, so you can know everything before you head to the polls.